This is the last unit of money market, unit 7.5. And in this, we will discuss some other instruments. So we'll just look at their definitions. We will discuss bill of exchange and repo transactions. So what is a bill of exchange? It is an unconditional order in writing from one party to another requiring the second party to pay an amount on a future date. A bill of exchange is used by company essentially for trade purposes. The term can be from 1 week to 1 year, but usually less than 6 months. Quotation in the USA and UK, it is quoted as a discount rate, but elsewhere as a yield. So now you know the difference between discount rate and yield. So it can be quoted as discount rate and it can be quoted as yield. Interest is non-interest bearing and it is negotiable, which means that if you want, you can sell it to another investor. Now let's understand the bill of exchange even more. So what happens is that, for example, you want to sell something. And on the other side, you have a buyer of some goods. Now, the seller is ready to sell, let's say, they sell garments. So the seller is ready to sell and the buyer is ready to purchase those garments. But the buyer is saying that I cannot give you immediate payment. I'm going to give you payment after 3 months. So the seller is thinking that, okay, I have no problem if this person gives me payment after 3 months, but what if he doesn't give me a payment? What if he defaults on his payment? So the seller is just scared that what if he doesn't receive the payment? So he needs some sort of a guarantee that after 3 months he will get his payment. And that is where your bill of exchange comes under play. So a bank, which can be a payee and an endorsee, can actually endorse that yes, the buyer is going to pay to the seller after 3 months. And this is done through a document which is called a bill of exchange. So what happens is that drawer issues a bill of exchange for cargo shipped. So the seller is going to, who is the drawer, is going to issue the bill of exchange. The bank participate as a payee or endorsee of the bill of exchange, and the drawee receives the cargo and bill of exchange. So the drawee has to now accept this bill of exchange. So when the drawee accepts this bill of exchange, he is also called the acceptor in that case. Bank makes payment to seller as per the bill of exchange. So the bank is going to make the payment to the seller. Now the bank is going to wait for the bill of exchange to mature to collect money. And once the bill of exchange is matured, the buyer pays the bank with interest. So the buyer can delay his payment and he will make the payment to the bank, and the bank will have already made the payment to the seller. So in this way, there is a guarantee to the seller that yes, he will get his payment on time. And the buyer will get the amount of duration that they want. Now, what is a repo? A repo is an arrangement whereby one party sells a security to another party and simultaneously agrees to repurchase the same security at a subsequent date at an agreed price. So a repo is also known as a repurchase agreement. Actually, this is the full form of repo. The term is usually very short term, although in principle a repo can be for any term. Quotation is in the form of yield. Interest is implied in the difference between the purchase and the repurchase prices. So whatever is the difference between the purchase and repurchase price, that is the cost of doing the repo. And it is non-negotiable. So you cannot sell your repo to anyone else. If you are in this contract, then you will have to stay with that party only. So let's understand repo in more detail. So what is repo? This is a borrower and this is a lender on this side. Now the borrower needs money, but he has some securities lying with him that he knows that he does not need them right away. So what he's saying is that, okay, I'm ready to sell these securities to the lender. The lender is going to give money to the borrower in exchange, but the borrower is going to say with it that I will repurchase the securities later on when I will have the money to do so. So it is to borrow by selling collateral security, promises to buy it back and pay interest. Interest is in the form of the difference. For example, Over here, if the market value is 950,000 and the selling price is 920,000, then the margin is 3.16%. Now, there is one thing called a repurchase agreement and another thing called the reverse repurchase agreement, which we call the reverse repo. It is the same agreement with different point of view. So when you're thinking from the point of view of the borrower, we call it a repurchase agreement because the borrower has sold a security and he has agreed that he will repurchase them on a later date. So in this way, he will get the cash for the amount of duration that he requires, and then he can, when he has more cash, he can buy back his securities. Whereas from the lender's perspective, it is called a reverse repo because they are on the lending side of it. So they are going to lend by buying collateral security and then sell it back, and they will be earning interest on it.